Wow, Rabbi, your speech was amazing. The one thing I don't understand, what is Hashem? Very good.
All right, so there's a story of Kameya. Gave a Kameya and the woman was healed. There's a story about the famous story about the Taz. And they saw that it has healing power, so they kept on using this Kameya over and over, and another woman was healed, another woman was healed. Generations. Chacham decided he's going to open it up. He's curious to see what does it say inside. Rebbeinu in the schus of my amelus HaTorah, in the sugya of tipas chalav, listen, learn.
Why did he not want to give it?
We finally do have internet in this room, in this building. That's the problem. So we should get one in between. You missed the Geshmak story. I'll tell you later. All right. So tipas cholav shenofla ala chaticha. You have a pot of meat cooking, and one drop of milk fell into the pot. According to Rashi, it seems like that this piece is protruding outside of the pot. Where's Yeshua? This is... Yeah. No? You guys don't feel it yet? Okay. Fine. First of all, the Yeshua is anybody that had the surgery doesn't count b'chlal. Now we'll talk about other people. Fine. So the tipas cholav... Okay, we'll wait for you. The Taz, for those of you who just came in, I see 3-4 people just walked in. The Taz gave a kameya and he based it on this. So he said, Rebbeinu Shalom, for the amelus HaTorah that I had in this sugya of tipas chalav, this woman should be healed. Here's the sugya. So you have what? It worked for generations until somebody opened it up.
But the question is if it worked because of the kameya or not. That's always a big question.
That's not even a question. She's dying, and then they put it on. You see, that's your question. Again, people that have surgery don't. It's different. I'll go upon it.
Gary, what command did you use when you had surgery?
No, we got to go weiter. We have a tipas cholav. We have a piece of meat.
Today's story there.
Okay. Anyways, we have a pot and we have a piece of meat sticking out of the pot. How much is it sticking out of the pot? According to Rashi, halfway, whatever. According to Tosfos, completely not in the pot. It's not in the liquid. So the question here is, let me just explain. We're talking about... No, according to Rashi, it's within the sauce, but it's sticking out. Part of the meat is sticking out, but part of it is in the sauce. Not half or three. Right. According to Tosfos, it's completely out. Hold on. What? Standing up nicely like this. Here's one piece of meat sticking out completely, and here's another piece on top of it. It's somewhat connected to the pot, but not really. Here's the question. Are we contending with one piece of meat or the 30 other pieces of meat in the pot? Is this chalav going to make, does it need to have 1/60th of the small piece of meat, the size of my fist, let's say, or a giant pot? Does it have to be 1/60th of a giant pot? Or no, this piece of meat is an individual piece. It's all by itself. Says the Mishnah, if it's just enough to give flavor, in other words, it's 1/60th flavor. Nois and tam means 1/60th of that one piece. Asur, that one piece is asur. If nier esagdeiro, if he stirred the pot immediately, so now this one piece is no longer one piece. Now this one piece is an entire pot because we're dealing with a whole pot. It's all stirred in, or like the Gemara is going to say, or we put a cover on the pot. Im yesh ba benois and tam ba esagdeiro asur. Now the milk has to be 1/60th of the entire pot, because we're not dealing with one piece of meat that's sticking out of the pot. We're dealing with the entire pot. It's all one piece. Verstehst? You're looking at me like you don't versteh.
It's like milk if it's a piece of cheese?
No difference. No difference. Milk. When I say milk, I mean dairy. When the Mishnah says cheese, it means dairy. It doesn't mean dafka cheese. What?
It comes out to be much less if you did the...
Yeah. Now you're dealing with, you need a lot more milk to answer the dairy.
Why does it mean sticking out?
Rashi, Tosfos.
So why is that really the case?
Because if it's not, you mean stirring and not stirring? Because then it starts, the bubbles, whatever. Omar Abaya. Now Abaya says something a little off topic, We're going to go back into the topic in a minute. But Abaye says, Tamoy veloy mamoshe ba'alma d'oraisa. So we know, we touched upon this as well. When you remove the source, you put the milk into the pot, then you remove the milk somehow. By cooking it out, it no longer exists. You take a piece of meat, let's say you dunk it into a pot and you yank it out right away. But it leaves a flavor behind. The flavor, we know it as a physical thing, but the Gemara doesn't consider it physical. It's so minute, it's on a molecular level. It's very, very small. So what?
Intangible.
Intangible, thank you. That's the word. So Memela, to say that a flavor is actually aser's midiraisa is a big chiddush. Says Abaya, Tamay v'loy mamoshe ba'al midiraisa. How do I know that in all other foods, nevela, tame, all the other foods, that this tam, even though it's intangible, it's aser midiraisa? The sokadai the rabbanon. If you'd say it's only the rabbanon, mibas b'chalav my time elay gamrina and the chiddushu. At the end of the day, says Abaya, you have to learn everything out from bas b'chalav. And just like bas b'chalav, the Mishnah discusses flavor. It had a flavor like this, flavor like that. It was stirred, not stirred. It's talking about flavor, nois and tam. So I'm learning the whole Torah from bas b'chalav. Why shouldn't I learn anything from bas b'chalav? Just like bas b'chalav, flavor is what causes the isser. So the whole Torah flavor causes isser. Why would I say bas b'chalav is any different than pork? The answer is because bas b'chalav is a chiddush. What's the chiddush? Machlokes Rishonim. Rashi learns the chiddush is two chiddushim. That I could take something that's completely mutter called cheese and take something that's completely mutter called meat, and when I put the two ingredients together, poof, it turns into an isser. That we don't have anywhere in the Torah. Or the fact that I could just cook something on my pot, on my stove. I'm over an isser. If I take a piece of chazer, put it on my stove, and I cook for 2 hours, I'm not over anything. Two chidushim. Taisus doesn't like it. What about klayim? You take two things. So Taisus says, there's a big chiddush here. If I take milk and I soak a piece of meat in milk for 3 days, nothing. I take it out of the pot, I go like this, and I eat it. Midoraisa. But if I cook it, it's a terrible thing. So that's a chiddush. That it's not the milk in the meat. It's the cooking the milk in the meat. That's a chiddush. So Memela, I would say that I cannot learn anything else in the Torah from bas b'chalav. So then, if that's the case, that bas b'chalav is in its own category, then why does the Mishnah talk about flavor? The Torah says, Bishul, it has nothing to do with flavor. It's a big chiddush here. Just the actual fact, cooking. So I cooked it. I turned on the stove for 5 seconds. I cooked it. It should make it aser. Comes Rav and says, no. What do you mean? Just you turn on the flame for 5 seconds. The Torah is telling me, how do you impart the isser one into the other? It has to be like a bishul. It has to be imparting flavor. The Torah is telling us how. The nois and tam is a shear in how do you make a flavor? How do you make something aser? It's not stam hocus pocus bishul. Turn on a fire for 1 second. The Torah is telling you, by turning on the fire, I'm imparting flavor. I'm giving nois and tam into another. Then it becomes aser. I'm telling you how it becomes aser.
The implication being that even without bishul.
No, I don't think so. It has to be bishul. But how much bishul? A certain amount of bishul. It can't just be, I decided bishul. Bishul with flavor. Omer Rav. Okay, so now that's it. So that's that. Now Rav comes along and says, well, the way we understood the Mishnah, he doesn't like it. He says, Ki bin shenosan tam b'chaticha. By the way, these are basically mostly yisoides that we learned already. No big chidushim in terms of that. It's just holding cup a little bit. Ki bin shenosan tam b'chaticha. Chaticha atzmo nasis nevela. Voiseres kol chaticha is kulon. So this one piece that's protruding outside, it's all by itself. And it absorbs milk. Since it absorbs milk, it becomes a shtik chazer. It becomes a shtik isser, not chazer. It becomes a shtik bas b'chalav. What's the implication? I like that word. What's the implication? The implication is that and these two things go together. That if you say chaticho nasis nevela, you have to say also efshel asachtei aser. In other words, Just like a piece of nevela, if I take a piece of chazer and I cook it for a few hours, a good few hours, nobody in their right mind will say, oh, I just cooked the chazer out of the chazer. It stays chazer. I could cook everything out as much as I want. So if this piece of meat turned into a basar b'chalav piece of meat, and then I cook it and cook it and cook it to the point where I take it into a lab and I use a microscope and I see there's not a single molecule of milk in that basar, too bad. If I could squeeze it out, asr. It's still asr. Asr. The simple words. If I could squeeze it out, if I could possibly squeeze out the isur never goes away. It still stays. So that's what he's saying. This piece of meat became a piece of basar b'chalav, and therefore asr. So memela what? Now I have a piece of non-kosher meat all the way on the top of the pot. It's resting on another piece. Guess what? The whole pot just became treif. As the Gemara is going to say in a second, Rav holds like Rabbi Yehuda, the famous Rabbi Yehuda, min b'minoi loy batal. Since we have two pieces of meat, if you have one piece of meat that's treif, that's basar b'chalav, and it falls into a pot with 1,000,000 pieces of meat, they cannot overcome that one piece and make it not treif. The whole pot becomes treif. So if I have one piece that's a piece of a nevela, it turns into a nevela, and since sitting on top of the pot but touching other stuff, so eventually it's going to make everything treif. There's no way out of it.
Why don't you just say he's talking about a pot that's less than 60? Why do you have to be mamid dafka rab according to Yehuda and limit it? Why don't you say he's talking about a pot that's less than 60?
Well, first of all, today you don't ask any kashas. There's no kashas today, especially lomdish kashas. What do you mean? Oh, you're saying in Rav, how do we know that that's what Rav meant?
Yeah.
Why would Rav limit himself?
No, exactly.
Yeah, what Rav is saying.
Why would he limit himself?
No, you're telling a specific case of less than 60. Rav says halacha becomes an avela. Once it becomes an avela, who cares what it is?
How did it become an avela? Was more than one for 60 or not?
Yeah. That the Mishnah says that one tipa has to impart flavor, meaning it's the tipa cholav is more than it. Once that becomes a piece, now it has the koyach to give off to anything else. Even less than 60, more than 60. What's the difference? That piece has koyach. It becomes a piece of basar b'chalav. How does Rav go? Rav must go. As we just explained, that two pieces of meat that are the same min are not mevatel each other ever. So if he already holds that, then he has to hold something else that Rabbi Yehuda says. Lema pligi ad Rava. Damar Rava, kasav Rabbi Yehuda kol shuhu min uminoi v'davar acher. This is not so complicated because we actually learned this and you'll remember in a second. The words seem interesting and complicated. If you have min uminoi v'davar acher, you have three pieces. Two of them are the same and the third is different. Here's the picture that we had, what was it? A week ago, a little bit more than a week ago. So you have two pieces of steak. One is an nevela, shtik nevela, the other one is kosher. But they're both cooking in a pot of soup and vegetables. So the pot of soup is considered not its min, it's davar acher. So you typically would think that you could take the middle guy and combine them either with the first or the last guy to gang up against one of them. So let's say you take the meat and the soup, and if you have more than 60 against the nevela, then the nevela goes out in the garbage. Or maybe you should take the guy in the middle and put him with the first guy. Say these two guys are nevela, and now you need a lot of soup to overcome the nevela. So what do? Which way do you go? Do you go to the right or to the left? The best way is you just get rid of him. You just pretend he's not here. He doesn't exist. So now the soup has to fight against the nevela by himself. He has no help. No one has help. And it's just soup versus nevela. And since we're talking about a lot of soup here, we're talking about a pot with a lot of soup. As the Gemara, so l'chayra, this basar b'chalav, it's not called nevela here. This basar b'chalav should be batal klap the soup. If you say min b'minoi lebatal, so then also take this yisoid of min b'minoi v'davar acher saleik es minoi kimisha enoi. You put an X through it. It's as if it's not there.
That's min b'shein or no?
Yeah. This is Sheini Minoi. It's two Minois against Sheini Minoi. So you take the middle Minoi, get rid of him, halachically, and now you have a min against the Sheini Minoi fighting who has a 60th. If this has more than 60 times this, then this is nothing. This cannot be matriv. So here also, the piece of basar v'chalav should be not considered anything compared to all the soup in the pot.
When you say get rid of, what you're saying is you're combining the two
No.
into one.
No, you ignore. You ignore completely. Ignore completely. Because it could go either way. I could use it for the soup, and I could use it for the nevelis. I don't use it at all. It's parav. It does. Yeah, we don't calculate it. Now, Rava says again, Rabbi Yehuda is the one that says min b'mino lo batal, and we just said that Rav holds like Rabbi Yehuda min b'mino lo batal. So, but Rava also says that Rabbi Yehuda says another halacha, this halacha. So then let Rav also hold of this halacha. So the Gemara says yes, he does hold of this halacha. Because Rabbi Yehuda calls shu min umino b'dav acher. Not a problem.
This is min b'mino and this is min b'sheino mino. Why are you asking the kasha for min b'mino and min b'sheino?
No. All I'm saying is that if you hold min b'minoi loy batal, who's the author of that halacha? Rabbi Yehuda. That same author authored this halacha. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, look at the Mishnah. We're talking about tipas chol shenof el achatichon. There's a whole pot boiling. So you have basar in a pot of milk. Not milk, a pot of meat. How do you cook meat? There's a lot of soup. Get rid of all the meat in the pot, and you'll be left with all the soup in the pot, and let that soup fight that one tipa of chalav that fell into it.
Maybe you're all different by this halacha, not that halacha.
Okay, but the Gemara doesn't even answer your answer. The Gemara says, no, he admits to that halacha. I hold like Rabbi Yehuda and everything. Let's look inside. Let me the pliga durava. What? What? The little piece of the drop of milk, tipas chalav that fell in. I know, but now I have another element. I have all the soup in the pot, should gang up against that one drop of milk and be mevatel, throw it away. Kimandalesa. We don't have enough milk. We have one drop of milk that fell here. Who cares? Pretend all the meat is not here. I have halacha. If you have milk, nevela, number one is milk, that falls onto a piece of meat. Number two, get rid of the piece of meat and let the soup in the pot do all the fighting against the milk. Against the milk.
There's nothing wrong with milk from the Vela.
The milk is right. But if I can be mevatel the milk, so I don't have basar b'chalav at all. I have one drop of milk, 1 millimeter of milk, versus a giant pot of stew that's cooking up my meat. Rabbi Yehuda says halacha, I pretend that there's no other meat there. Get rid of the meat that it fell on.
It's not also, you can't be mevatel.
I'm not mevatel also. I'm ignoring it. I'm not putting it into the calculation. Not being mevatel. When it comes into calculation, Rabbi Yehuda for some reason says, Minu v'dover acher, stalekis minu k'mishainoi. Get rid of number two. Get rid of all meat. Now let that piece, that shtick, that Russia Marusha piece of milk, let him contend with this giant pot of soup. So all the Gemara is going to say now is, we're not dealing with soup. That's all the Gemara is going to say. We're not dealing with soup. We're dealing with a meat that's cooking in a very thick gravy that's not considered soup. It's considered meat.
He's asking with the Tichanas Nevela, once more touches the one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about taking out the other pieces of meat, not the milk. Does the soup mevatel the meat, that piece of meat?
No, if you get rid of all the meat, including...
Kosher, milk's fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the milk.
I'm not saying that something is wrong. There's no mixture. There's not even a mixture of milk. That's what I'm saying.
It's the meat. Now the meat is the chaticha, is not in the vela.
Mm-hmm. It can never be an avelo.
Taking out the...
It doesn't become an avelo because the piece that it fell on, we don't consider it b'chlal. It really fell, this piece of milk fell into the soup. Let the soup deal with it, not the meat.
I'm not sure what the middle piece of meat adds to this discussion.
Because it fell on a piece of meat.
No, but I mean, if we're ignoring that, according to him, we ignore the middle piece.
Yeah.
Right? Then the halacha should still be the same. You have a piece of nevela, that's still called nevela now.
Yeah.
Fall into a pot.
Yeah, but you have a lot more. The Gemara understands you have a lot more soup now. A lot more soup than this milk that
So
fell.
that is the difference.
Yeah.
A piece of meat could have pushed it over the 60.
Exactly. Says the Gemara. Let's just see inside the words. Kiman Omar l'shmai take Rabbi Yehuda. He has to hold like Rabbi Yehuda, the author of Min B'minoi Loy Batel. Doma B'minoi Loy Batel. Lema Pli Yad Rava. So maybe Rav argues with Rava. Doma Rava. Kosover Rabbi Yehuda, the same author of Mina Loy Batal Rabbi Yehuda, says also, Kol Shu Min Uminoi V'Davar Acher, this piece of paper, Salekis Minoi, take away number 2 in the middle, Kemishenoi, V'She'enoi Minoi Rava Olav Umevatloi. If it fell into a soup like number 3 in this picture, we're talking about a very thick, like a puree of meat. It's cooking in a puree of meat. What?
Chullin.
It's very good at Chullin. And maybe what happens? It's no longer green. Everything here is minoi. It's 3 meats. They're all cooking in one. Meat is cooking in meat. So maybe I don't have this halacha. Fine. It's just a side thing. Umayka sovar. Now, we just have to go back. We just have to go back to the thing I said already. That chaticha nasis nevelo automatically betzim tells me that efshel sochtei aser. But the Gemara just talks it out. Umayka sovar, ikasovar efshel sochtei mutar. If I could cook it out, I could literally, physically cook out the milk from the piece of meat, and that piece of meat will come mutar. Chaticha amay nasis nevelo. Then why in the world is that piece? Why is it considered a nevela or a basar b'chalav? Elokasavar efshel sochtei aser has to be that he holds that I cannot cook it out, and therefore it remains a nevela. The itmar Rav v'Rebbe Chanina v'Rebbe Yochanan the Amri efshel Rav v'Rebbe Chanina v'Rebbe Yochanan the Amri efshel sochtei aser. This is our Rav that we're talking about. Holds like Rebbe Chanina and Rebbe Yochanan that squeezing out doesn't help; it remains in a vela. Shmuel, right? Rav always fights with Shmuel. Reb Shimon Bar Rebbe, I don't know who he fights with. Rish Lakish always fights with Rebbe Yochanan. So it's the 2 teams against the 2, the teams against each other. Rish Lakish is the one. Shmuel and Rish Lakish hold efshel sochtei mutar. Now, as the Gemara of Savar Rab efshel sochtei aser, does he really hold this? V'itmar, a very interesting halacha. You have a giant pot of milk cooking, and a piece of meat fell into the pot. Guess what? It's a split halacha. You're allowed to drink all the milk, and you're not allowed to eat the meat. Why? As the Gemara understands this second, because the milk is much more than the meat. So it is mivatal the meat. But the meat cannot be mivatal the milk, because the meat is small, and the meat absorbs some of the milk. Here's the problem. If the meat absorbed milk, the meat became usr. So the milk inside the meat became a nevela. The milk inside the meat became a nevela, chaticha nevela. And then it spit it out back into the pot. And min b'minoi loy batal. If you have 1 drop of nevela milk in all of the other milk, the rest of the milk should become a nevela. So how do you avoid this problem of milk going into the meat and coming out of the meat back into the pot? No, but he holds efshel sochtei aser. He holds efshel sochtei aser. We're saying in Rav that holds efshel sochtei aser, what do? And all the Gemara is going to say is that physically it doesn't go back into the pot because it's boiling. Boiling, it can go one way only. It goes into the meat, doesn't go out of the meat. Va'itmar kizayis basar shenofel toich shel chalav omar Rav basar aser v'chalav mutar. You're allowed to eat. You're allowed to drink the milk and allowed to eat the meat. If he holds that once the milk goes into the pot, into the meat, the milk itself becomes also forever and ever. It becomes a chatichas nevela. Chalav my mutar. How in the world are you allowed to drink the whole pot of milk? Chalav nevela hu. Why? Says Rashi, because bifla b'shara chalav havali min b'minoi becomes min b'minoi. And now you have a mixture of milk that's usr that goes into milk that's mutar. I see why this amulet works. No, mamish. Okay, tomorrow. No, of course Rav holds efshel sochtei aser. That's why chaticha nasis nevela, etc. Shani asam do makro. This is just a havamina. Don't get scared. It's a very scary teretz. Shani asam do makro loisavasha gdi b'chalev imoy. The Torah said the isser is to cook a goat with milk, not milk with goat. So there's no isser on the milk. The isser is on the goat. Havamina. Gedi asra Torah v'loy chalav. V'sava Rav gedi asra Torah v'loy chalav. Okay, it's like maybe that's what he meant. Not really. That's what he meant. Leading up. V'sava Rav gedi asra Torah v'loy chalav. How's it possible? I'll prove to you. As funny as it sounds, I could actually prove to you that that's not what he holds. Va'itmar chatzi zay is basar shkoyach. He's mamish in the sugya. That's why. Usually he's the one. No. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
He loses his seat.
I'm 100% joking.
He was planning to.
100. But you are mamish. So you tifa rein. It's gewaldig.
He was planning to offer you a drop of milk.
By the way, I didn't realize I was thirsty until he came around. I was also tifa rein.
You did a great job at taking it out of that.
Yeah. What? Motzei Shabbos 7:30 and Motzei Shabbos
8:30 by Avi.
8:30 at Avi. Rabbi Shor, the famous Rabbi Shor, he asked that we shouldn't sing Karlebach songs. All other, it has to be Haimisha songs. No, I'm not kidding. I'm kidding. Everybody come. It's going to be gewaldig. And no, seriously, even if not Lekavet Rabbi Shor, Lekavet Avi, because he really worked hard to get him to come, and he's doing it specifically and specially for our shir. And he's going to have sushi. It's going to be a geschmack matzav. I'm not coming because I have other. No. I'll be there, Be'ez Hashem. I'll be there. There won't be a shir on Sunday, but I'll be there. I didn't want to say this. You were a little upset at me last night about the shir. I went to sleep at 2 a.m. Had I came, it would have been 2:45. So kids, okay, weiter. Not for now.
I was giving share Sunday morning, you say.
Avi Kamiatzi will give the shir. We say that we'll go in and out, whatever. V'yitmar chatzi zayis basar v'chatzi zayis chalav shebishlum zeh zeh. What's the shir of basar b'chalav? You need a kazayis milk, and you need a kazayis chalav in order to be over this, right? All Yisur in the Torah, you need a full shir. The final isser is a kazayis, but how do you start off the thing? How do you start it off? You need a kazayis of meat and a kazayis of milk.
You mean to eat or to cook?
To cook. So you're starting off, right? Let's see the halacha here. It gets interesting. There's a havamin and there's a maskana. Chatzi zayis basa v'chatzi zayis chalav shebishlam zeh zeh. If you cooked it like that, omer rav loik al achilasoi ve'en loik al bishuloi. You don't get malchus on cooking, but you get malchus on eating. Where the Gemara is going to go away from that at the end. If the Torah only said you can't eat the goat part, but you let it drink the milk, but why is he over on eating a half a zayis of goat? Obviously, you have to combine the half a kazayis of goat and the half a kazayis of milk. Otherwise, chatzi shiuru. Okay, fine. So we're going away from that one. It wasn't a good havamina. You have to say, of course, from the fact that he says the chatzi shir, if you take a half a kazayis of milk and a half a kazayis of meat, you combine together, you're over. Obviously, you get malchus on the milk part as well. So what's the question again? The question is that if a piece of meat that absorbs some milk was cooked in the pot, the milk in the meat became nevela, became asur, and then at a later stage during the cooking, that milk went out of the meat, just the same way it went in, it went out. It goes in one hole, goes out the other hole, and should make the whole pot also, because now the pot has nevela milk, and even one drop in nevela holds Rabbi Yehuda min b'minoi by bottle. So one drop in a million will make the entire pot treif. Says the Gemara, it won't. If it's boiling hot, the mivla bola, mivla loy polad. I'm telling you scientifically, it could absorb milk, it won't spit the milk back out into the pot. As the Gemara, just a technical thing. So if but once it cools off, then it's gonna be toilet. So Rav said it is whole halacha. If a piece of meat falls into a pot of milk, I'm allowed to drink the milk, but I can't eat the meat. Only in one case, that the milk was boiling the entire time, and you took out the piece of meat while the milk was still boiling. Otherwise, you're right. You're not allowed to drink the milk. You're not allowed to eat the meat. You're not allowed to do anything, because the milk will go into the meat and then spit back out into the rest of the milk, and it'll ruin everything else. Guva. Yes. Correct. Although I see halacha here, Aleph and Beis, so I don't know.
No, Aleph is the concept of mivla bala palai.
Okay, because you call them a silka. What's that about?
It's also that whenever you have a chaticha that you're familiar with, you have to take it out, even if you hold that it's proper.
Really? That's you think that's what the halacha is? Doesn't seem like it, but okay. Yeah, but it means if you call them a silka, then you're not over. Fakert. Guva. Now the Gemara just takes it back a little bit. This Chatzi Zayis thing, the Gemara is going to clarify what we said about two Chatzi Zayisim that I see some of you had an issue with. Chatzi Zayis Bosov, Chatzi Zayis Cholav Shebishlam Zeh Im Zeh Omer Rav Loikal Achilas Aveda Loikal Bishuloi. So the Havamina was that if you cook a half a shear of a cholav and a half a shear of basar, in other words, a half a zayis and half a zayis, you only get malchus on eating it. You don't get malchus on cooking it. As the Gemara, the obvious question, Manavshach, Imitz Tarfin, Abishul Nami Lilki. If they combine together and all you need is one kezais at the end of the day, so then you cooked one kezais. What's the difference on achila or bishul? Imitz Tarfin. If they don't combine, achila Nami Lilki, you shouldn't get any malchus. Lo Olam Imitz Tarfin. You're right. In order to be over, you need to start out with one kezais of milk and one kezais of meat. Very simple. You're right. It started out in a giant, a full kezais of meat and a full kezais of milk. Combine them together, you are over on bishul. Now, it's one case, and that's not the case we're talking about. From this isur bishul, a guy went and took a half a kezais of meat and a half a kezais of milk, and he ate them. Says Rav, he's over. Why? Because on the bishul, he did it correctly. He did a full kezais and a full kezais. For the achila, you don't need a full kezais and a full kezais. You need a total of one kezais. A half a kezais of meat and a half a kezais of dairy. On the bishul, you need a full kezais. So in Hanami, started out the right way.
You mean the wrong way.
The wrong way. It's that guy. It's that guy. For him, was the right way. So on the achila, you're over. But if you were to really cook, so again, if you were to cook a half a kezais of milk and a half a kezais of meat together, are you over or not over? No, you're not over, because you need the full kezais. So when are you over on eating a half a kezais and a half a kezais? If it started off a full kezais and you chopped it down for the eating part, that the bishul started with a kezais and a kezais, and then the achila later on, you chopped a half a piece of the meat and a half a piece of the milk, and you ate them together. Now you're over. But for bishul to start out to be over on bishul, you need a full kezais of this and full kezais of that. But Levi's mechulik, and he says, "Afloika al bishuloi." At the end of the day, all I need is a total. The end sum has to be one kezais. It doesn't matter how I got to it. Half a kezais of milk and a half a kezais of basar. I'm also over in bishul, and just like you're over on achila on a half a kezais and a half a kezais. Just like Rav says that you're over on a half a kezais of meat and a half a kezais of milk. Okay, in a case that he cooked it in a kezais and a kezais, but he says at the end of the day, for the eating, all I need is a half a kezais and a half a kezais. Levi says, I don't care how I got there. All I need is that at the end, it should be half a kezais of milk and half a kezais of meat. So then the cooking also, that's all I need is half a kezais of meat and half a kezais of dairy. Nu halacha, nu sugya. Ube'eze bishul amru, it's a one-line sugya. What is bishul when it comes to basar v'chalav? Bishul sha'acherim oichlem oisim machmas bishuloi. It has to be mevushal kol tzarkoi. The Rishonim that learn in Rashi that he means k'mach ben drusoi. Other Rishonim say it has to be mamish bishul, but it has to be kol tzarkoi. It can't be that I cooked it on my stovetop for 5 minutes. That's not enough. Just because you saw something going on there, it has to be some sort of halachic bishul, that at least the guy would eat from it, or somebody's going to eat from it. And now the Gemara, this is a sugya that goes into Matzah Shabbos, it goes all the way to the Mishnah. We're going to stop in the middle of the sugya, but let's just get down to the bottom of the page. Ve'eshel esochtoi atzmoi tanoi. We were bringing from Rav, from Amiroyim, if Efshel esochtoi is mutarah, so we saw Rav and Shmuel and Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. Now the Gemara says it's actually earlier machloikas tanoim. The Sanya, it seems like that this is the same case that we had, although the Gemara is going to change it a little bit. But for now, for today, for Friday, it's the same case. The Sanya, our Mishnah, you have a drop of milk that falls onto a piece of meat. If it can impart flavor, it's nice and tam, it's more than 1/60th. So then, first, it attacks the one piece of meat, because it's more than 1/60th, so it makes that one piece treif, and then in return that one piece becomes an avela, and in return it makes the whole pot also. Mipnei shehein mina. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. This is the famous Rabbi Yehuda. Min b'mina loy batel. He's a Tana, and he holds min b'mina loy batel. And Memelo. Now, what does this have to do with Efshel Sachtoi? B'chachamim ma'imrim. Ad shetitin tam b'roitev u'b'kiva u'b'chaticha is chachamim hold that it has to impart flavor. It has to be 1/60th of the entire pot, not 1/60th of that tiny little piece of meat that it touched in the chunt on the top somewhere. It has to be the size of the whole chunt pot, 1/60th of all the chunt, not just that little lousy bone that's sticking out from the top. Omar Rebbe, Nirin Divrei Rebbe Yehuda, B'shaloi Nir, B'shaloi Chisa, V'divrei Chachamim B'shinir V'chisa. Says Rebbe, I like Rebbe Yehuda, I like Rabbanan. I like Rebbe Yehuda when he didn't stir the pot. So if you didn't stir the pot, now you're contending with one piece of meat. If I stirred the pot, so the milk mixed into everything. So now I'm not looking at one piece of meat, I'm looking at all the chunt. So if I didn't stir the pot, I agree with Rabbi Yehuda. That what? That you just look at that one piece, and that one piece becomes an avela. Now the Gemara says, wait a minute. What does it mean he didn't stir the pot? He didn't stir it at all? Can't be. The Gemara understands here that scientifically speaking, if I don't stir a pot, then the chalav has no way to get to the rest of the pot. It penetrated into that one slice of meat, and it just stays there. How in the world is it going to go from the slice of meat to the rest of the pot? I have to do some sort of stirring. That's how the Gemara scientifically it can't work. If you follow the molecules of the milk, you'll see they go into the meat on top of the pot and they stop. They stay there.
Yeah, it's cooking. It's doing one thing. It can only do one action, either accept or export.
But maybe it can continue through it. I would think that it would flow through it. If you put poison on the one piece on top, you're able to eat from the rest of the chunt, it doesn't go through. I don't know. That's how the Gemara understands. Elo?
Covering the book makes.
Oh, covering also. Stirring and covering are one and the same. That's the same halacha. That's why I said in the Mishnah. It's stirring and covering. The cover does that.
So why did Chachamim say near vekisa? Should be one or the other, right?
Yeah, it's one or the other. Yeah. It means one of the same. Look at the side, maybe. No. Okay. Says the Gemara. Ve'elo loy nir betchila. It's talking about Rebbe meant he didn't stir it in the beginning. Elo basoif. Ve'lekisa betchila. Elo basoif. So what happened was there was no stirring going on in the beginning. He did it at the end. Amai habalava palat. At the end of the day, this piece of meat should become mutter. Why? Because as it received the flavor, it got cooked out. We cooked out the flavor from it. Elamai, you see, once for a moment, it became asur, it became bazul chalav. I don't care that I cooked it out. You're right, I cooked it out. It may be physically it cooked it out, but it's too late. It became a shtik nevela. Shtik nevela never becomes mutter. Now, Rebbe says, I like Rabbi Yehuda if it's talking about this case, but so in other words, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold like Rebbe. It's not talking about that he stirred it only at the end. He stirred it the whole time. Now we have a problem. If he stirred it the whole time, if he stirred it from the beginning to end, or he covered it from the beginning to end, it's asur. Amai holabola klal. At the end of the day, this milk had to contend with the entire pot. And it's not 60th of the whole pot, it's a 60th of the little piece of meat. How's that fair? Why does Rabbi Yehuda say the whole pot is asur? Why? The whole pot was boiling and cooked everything out. As it hit the pot, poof, it should be batal b'roiv. Says the Gemara, Ema loinir yafa v'loi kisa yafa yafa. Loinir yafa yafa v'loi kisa yafa yafa. You're right. Rabbi Yehuda agrees with you. In theory, he just says that there's a gzeira. We're talking about a gzeira here. In other words, I'm worried that you didn't stir it, and if you didn't stir it, then it penetrated one piece of meat and made that one piece of meat an avela, and that piece of meat made the whole pot an avela. But you're right. If I know for a fact, and it went like this, and everything got stirred up right away, then the whole pot goes against that one little piece of milk, and is mevatel it. That I'm asking to you. It's just a gzeira. I, Rebbe, don't hold of this gzeira. I have no reason to be choishish. Maybe he didn't stir it well. So if I didn't stir it in the beginning, then he holds if it didn't stir in the beginning, then what? didn't start in the beginning, fell in. Hold on, I lost my train of thought.
And then the whole thing becomes usher.
No, it becomes mutter. If he didn't start in the beginning, no. According to Rabbi, the whole thing becomes usher. Why? Because it grabbed onto one piece of meat, and according to Rabbi, it didn't grab onto one piece of meat. It's all mutter. Have a wonderful Shabbos. We'll see you at 7:30 on Motzi Shabbos.
And don't forget,
And the Mishnah, there's a new Mishnah from there on where we're done with this sugya.